Okay, we pre-prepared some questions and I've promised to stick to them. But I've suddenly changed my mind and I'm going to put 4 completely different questions in it. No, I'm not. I wouldn't be that cruel. So, to start with, please introduce yourself individually and talk about how AI is impacting you, both directly or indirectly, and by that what I mean is professionally or personally. And we'll go ladies first.
Hello. Can everybody hear me? Awesome. So my name is Denise. I am the founder and CEO of SaaS Launch, Software as a Service. We help tech startups launch, scale, and get funded by VCs. And I've been in software, so my background has been in software. I've worked for companies like Oracle, like LinkedIn, doing enterprise sales. So acquisition, customer acquisition, client acquisition is something that is my forte. And I'm helping these startups as well with their customer acquisition. AI, well, I've been selling that at Oracle as well. It was a part of like the chatbot solution. And currently the startups that I work with also have some type of AI in their solution as well. I think AI is one of the things that is still in its infancy, and it's getting better and better as we progress. But I think it's something that is going to help us move forward when it comes to whatever you see as a forte. So if it's data, applied to data or applied to anything else, it's something that will help us move forward.
Uraz, how about you?
Hello again, everyone. Second time today. I'm Uraz Şentürk, owner of Design Lab Advertising and Level Istanbul, digital marketing agencies located in Cyprus and Turkey. And I believe that AI is changing the way we are actually approaching the subjects. Because now we have more tools that can be used to develop strategies. And also we have more availability of data that can be judged and make assumptions of. So I believe that we made a huge progress in the last 3 years in regarding of using the AI. And I believe that in the coming years, it's going to develop more, and we need to keep us updated with the technology all the time. So education is also going to be an important part for agencies in the coming futures.
Arindam.
Hey, my name is Arindam Dey, founder of Biz Anecdotes. We're based out of India, and we're a B2B marketing firm. And especially, when it comes to AI or machine learning or MarTech, in B2B space pre-COVID, so 70% of marketing mix used to be spent on face-to-face or events. But pandemic basically taught all of us that we have to rely more on the digital because the environment is very fluid in nature. So in that scenarios that AI or AdTech or MarTech definitely going to help the B2B marketer mainly to drive the business goal that they were trying to achieve for the organization.
And last but not least, Badis.
Hello everyone, my name is Badis. Basically I'm a computer engineer, so I have a technical background. Currently I'm the co-founder and CEO of a digital agency in my hometown in my country, Tunisia. Besides that, I'm the digital marketing officer of another company that I co-founded also, so it's a technological company called Axitry. In both companies, we implement and we use AI, so I've had a little bit of history with AI since college, I would say. So we've been implementing AI algorithms, predictive marketing, and all that stuff. So basically, I'll try to share my experience with AI with all of you today and answer if there are any questions after that.
Thank you. So you've all nicely done the professional piece and the professional perspective, but what about from a personal point of view? Imagine for a moment you don't do the jobs you do now. You're in a completely different field that doesn't bring you in touch with AI from a marketing perspective. How do you feel as individuals about what's going on with AI? let's say, tracking your personal data, for example? Arindam.
So AI, and if you don't relate with my professional, the way that we're using that, as a user, that the way Amazon or any e-com player, they're using data, or even to some extent the social media player like Facebook and all. So they're day in and day out, they're capturing the data, and therefore we can see the lots of security measures also being given in place, that how they can secure the data that we are sharing online. So what I feel that definitely there are going to be some that changes the way that we are sharing our data, or the companies those who are capturing those data, and eventually definitely going to impact the way we are doing the digital marketing at current stage.
Thank you. So I'm going to push Uraz a bit further on this one. So as an individual, as a person, just in your daily life, do you think AI is helping? Or are you a bit nervous about it? I'm putting words in your mouth. But yeah, thoughts as an individual.
I mean, it's a good point, actually. I believe that there are pros and cons of it. In overall, I'm a believer in AI, and I believe if it is used properly, I think it can add value to our lives. So I believe that it is an important aspect, and of course, every improvement is going to make our lives easier in the future. But again, there's a thin line between having an advantage and having a disadvantage of it. Of course, like I've mentioned before as well, data usage is really important, and AI is mostly used to gather data and use that data to actually process information and have some sort of idea about the trends that are happening globally. So that's good. From a marketer point of view, it's good as well. From customer point of view, again, if it is used respectfully, then of course customer can benefit from it as well. But if the data is used for, let's say, illegal ways, then that might start interrupting our lives and our privacy and our security. And at that point, there needs to be some adjustments made.
Thank you. Before we go on, I'm going to ask Denise to come in next, and then Badis, and then we'll turn it and flip it around a bit. But before we go on the theme, I'll just share a personal anecdote with you. And it builds on something. I was at a previous conference here over the last few days, and there was a really interesting expert in AI from San Francisco who came to talk. It was in the context of the property realty sector. And he, kind of what you're saying, Uraz, he was saying AI and how we use it is only as good as the quality of the data that is collected, or indeed is allowed to be collected by the individual. The anecdote I wanted to share with you in that context, I've got two boys, one who's 19 and the other who's 15. A couple of years ago, I was sitting with my 19-year-old, so he'd been 17 then, and some of his friends, and I said, this is interesting, none of you are on social media. None of them are on Facebook, Snapchat. They use WhatsApp to communicate, but they're not on LinkedIn yet, not on Instagram. And I appreciate they're not wholly representative of every youth of that age, but there's clearly a group that are. And I said to them, why are you not on any of this social media? And they said, we want to stay clean. That was the actual word that they used, we want to stay clean. And they said, look, we know our data's being picked up from YouTube and websites that we look at, but we don't want to actively give our data out to whoever to use it. So, bit of context. Denise?
Yeah, I think, again, the question.
So I'm pushing a little bit further on the personal side of things. So, it's great to hear the professional, but now really removing yourself from your professional context and just thinking of your daily life. Do you feel AI coming into it, even if it's not actually called AI? Are you aware of how companies are using your data?
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, it's a simple example. Like if people here are using Spotify, right? Sometimes you get suggestions of certain songs that you like. That's already using AI to, give you the songs that are kind of like in your genre. I think there's a balance between how you use it, as Ora says. If you use it for the benefit of, okay, hey, listen, this is a suggestive song, which you might like. Hey, you're going to listen to more songs on Spotify, which is obviously going to improve the algorithm. But once, tracking is used to do other things that are a little bit, let's say, shady, obviously that's going to be a little bit difficult. But honestly, I think you should see AI as a tool, kind of like just as a tool to use to improve, let's say, whatever you want to improve. If it's a song that you want to do, or if it's a software that improves a certain aspect in your life. I think that's how you should see AI and data in that sense.
And for that reason, can one assume, in the right circumstances, you're happy to give or indeed sell that data to, or be rewarded for giving that data to a company or a brand?
I think, if it's like a positive reward, of course. I do think that, obviously it is a personal decision, right? So for me, if it's, let's say, Spotify or YouTube or whatsoever, and it gives me more songs or more content that I like, I go for it.
Now, I'll let you into a secret here. Badis is an accomplished musician, so I'm just picking up on that in terms of Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, people can get your tracks and then know what's being recommended. But anyway, from a personal perspective.
Just to add on what the others already said, there's always a thin line, I guess, between ethics and technology. So we cannot have technology that's against ethics, that's against morals, all that stuff, privacy and everything. The same example as Denise, so for Spotify or YouTube or any content platform, it will be very helpful for anyone to have preferences between them and the platform, just between them and the platform, so not sell that preference or that data to other third-party members or third-party companies. I think it's very helpful for e-commerce. We use AI in e-commerce. So from a personal point of view or professional point of view, I think it's very helpful to know which article may be ready for a cross-sell or for an upsell to which person or which individual. So I think it's very helpful in someone's life while navigating the internet, but there always need to be some laws, some morals, some ethics that need to be respected and some privacy that needs to be respected.
So I'm going to loop back slightly to the professional perspective, and we've talked about yourselves, we've talked about customers, but what about your clients? Just maybe share with us conversations you might or might not be having with them. Is it a conversation you're having with your clients? Is it the more progressive clients who are in there? Is it on the agenda now? Denise, you look as though you're about to go.
Personally, because I work in the tech field, so all these SaaS startups already have kind of like an AI perspective in their solution. It's not a thing that you talk about, per se. It's more of like, okay, what's the added value that that solution brings to the table, and how do you market that? That's the conversations that we have. So no, to be honest, it's not a conversation on, okay, we're using AI and what data are we sharing. It's more like, okay, this is a solution. It uses a certain aspect of AI, and this is the benefit it will bring to your target audience.
Yeah, I think 3 words, or 2 phrases came out: added value and benefits. There's no point in having this great technology if it's not actually delivering that, both to the company, the client, and also to the individual consumer. Any other perspectives on the client community and who you deal with?
Like, I spent almost 18 years in a client side, and now from 4 years running this own marketing firm. But I also, feel that there's lots of awareness which is required for the marketeer as well. That currently what is happening, that from the martech company or the agency, they are talking about, they're pushing that, okay, so this is the solution which can help you to achieve something goal. But from the marketing other side, they have to think beyond the, that especially in B2B side, like we're discussing with a couple of our colleagues here, that, think beyond the customer acquisition. That, customer acquisition is not going to happen overnight, right? There's some, the process that you need to go through it. There was a time when there was no tool available in the market, but at current days that, those things can be achieved maybe in a shorter period of time by understanding your client far, far better from the behavioral point of view, what kind of content they're consuming. So awareness also is very, very important. It's also, that's onus on us, like us, that spread more and more, the knowledge, sharing rather than, talking only from the sales point of view that, okay, you buy our product, rather than how this product can help them in the future. So that's my, the perspective.
Whereas,
I would like to add something. So from our client's point of view, regarding the AI, they don't actually want to get into it too much in terms of understanding the techniques and using it by themselves. So in most cases, they say, you tell us how we can use it in our campaigns and what benefits it can actually provide to us. So instead of just explain it to us how to use it or how the AI works, tell us what would be the benefits will be and show us the results and data afterwards. So they're more concentrated on the result rather than understanding how the process works.
that's the thing. I suppose if you roll the camera back, no pun intended, 70 odd years when television advertising came to the fore, I guess clients weren't going, well, how does the film work? How do we get the data? How does it transmit it? They just go, make an ad and let's see the impact that it's coming. Badis, I didn't want to ignore you on this question.
Yes, most of the times we don't tell clients that we're going to use AI. So some people get scared when they hear the words artificial intelligence. They think about robots that are going to invade the earth and all that stuff. So we try to stay away from technical words, I would say. So we just tell them that we're going to add some modules that are going to help clients during their research and all that stuff. And we don't speak too much techie, so we just try to explain how the algorithm or the mini algorithm is going to work. So it's going to add this feature, that feature, etc. So we talk only about the features that's going to get added. As Denise said, so maybe we are, from our point of view, so she runs a SaaS company, I run an app development company, so we have the same point of view about this one. We try to stay away from telling the clients that we're gonna implement artificial intelligence, but we do implement it.
Thank you. So back in 1998, I think it was, a guy called Ray Kurzweil, who I believe is working for Google at the moment, helping them answer a fantastic question: can we stay immortal? Or how do we stay immortal as human beings? Back in 1998, he wrote a book called The Singularity is Near. And in it, he postulated that we are the last generation of pure human being to walk the planet. He also postulated that the legal profession would be developing protections for the intellectual property rights of computers. And if you think about a couple of years ago, I think it was, they reported 2 computers in California started talking to each other in a language that humans couldn't understand, so they had to shut the computers down just in case they went off and created things that we couldn't create. My point being, leading into the next question, so if we are the last generation of pure human being, are we seeing the end of the human marketeer? Is AI going to replace the marketing function in our client companies?
I personally don't think so, or not yet. I think AI is in its infancy. There's still a lot that needs to be developed to make it, let's say, perfect in that sense. And I think even if AI exists, there's still human beings that need to, handle or at least use the tools that use AI, if that makes sense. So I personally don't think that we're going to be obsolete, let's say it like that. I think we're going to be an added value, or AI is going to be an added value, as it is now, but it's going to be more an added value in actually making your results may be faster or better or whatsoever in a shorter amount of time than maybe what we're doing now. I'm looking at it in a technical sense, to be honest.
Whereas,
I mean, I don't believe that AI will replace human factor, because even though AI collects data and arranges them and makes them available for use, still you need to give directions to it, because not all the data that's being collected is useful, and an expert needs to identify the correct data, useful data, based on the client's sector and market, because again it changes whatever the job is or the product is that's going to be used for. So human factor will always be, I think, a must in artificial industry, because without a human factor you cannot select the correct metrics and make them available, use them, and get results.
Arindam.
Yeah, so I'm to give you one personal example. So my uncle used to work in a banking sector, and long time back when computer was introduced, so he was shit scared that he's going to lose his job because there's a computer, and now maybe that 3 persons job can be done by 1. But later on, that no one has lost their job. They just become more efficient, and customer become more happier, because that time all the transactions was happening for the same thing. I feel that is going to happen with AI. Recently, like when you talk about the RPA, RPA is being used in consulting firm and Big Four. So same situation that everyone is saying that that there will be a huge job loss, but we don't see any job loss happening anywhere. Rather, they're performing better. So,
Any perspective, Badis?
I'm gonna agree with everyone here. I don't think that AI will replace humans anytime soon. There always needs to be that human touch, so the creativity of a human mind. I think there always needs to be human validation, I would say. So at the end of all the calculations, all the algorithms and everything, so there needs to be a human to accept whether to go with that calculation, with that result or not. So there always needs to be a human at the end of the line to validate or to neglect the calculations done. So I don't think that AI will take all human roles. Maybe some of them, yes, we can automate that. We can delete maybe, or imitate, or change some factors or some roles, but not all of them. So there always needs to be a human at the head of the table, I would say.
There's a great phrase you used there at the end of the line. It reminded me, I worked with Mercedes many years ago and went to their factory in Singlefingen, and it's a massive factory. Massive factory with robots, and it's all clean and there's no humans, apart from at the end of the line, where there were 4 experienced guys, shall we say, for experience read old, in white jackets and rubber gloves, and they were given as long as they like to check the car. Everything else was just-in-time manufacturing, but they were allowed to spend as much time on any car once it's pulled off the production line. So maybe that's an illustration where there's no replacement. Building on the theme of great belief, marketing is a creative endeavor. Who do you think's more creative, a computer or a human?
Human.
And your reasoning being? Is that right now, or maybe in 50 years' time?
I mean, computer, I believe, right now can't be creative. The reason for that is I don't believe that computer currently analyzes the socio-cultural factors that a location, country, or language differences that might occur when you're creating something, because that depends how you create things, who you're aiming for, and where they are located at. Because each community has their have their differences, and you need to approach everyone based on how they live their lives. So I don't think AI is well developed to analyze that at now, currently. So, but in the future, we never know.
I suppose it depends also on the definition of creativity. But Denise, do you have any perspective on this?
Yeah, I think it's a balance of both, to be honest, because with AI, you can, grab your data. Let's say if you have a plethora of data and you need to analyze it in smaller parts just to get like the information that you need. I think from that perspective, you can get your creativity to understand, okay, what is this, what I'm seeing now? And then you can, if it's creating campaigns or creating a SaaS solution or whatsoever, that's where you can get your creativity from. So I think, personally speaking, I think it comes from both. If you use both of them, you will definitely get, that creativity going.
There's a word you use there, analyze, and my impression is, I'm not a computer software engineer, but computers are brilliant at analyzing. Maybe one of the things, maybe the competitive advantage we have as humans is we can dream. And I'd love to hear from a software engineer as to whether computers can actually dream.
I don't think they can do that yet, but maybe in the near future they will, yes. With machine learning and everything that is happening, why not? But for the time being, I think people are more creative. People don't have limits for their creativity, for their dreams, for their passions, and everything that goes with that. So I don't think that a machine is at the same level as a human being right now. So as you told us, Crispin, it can analyze, it can calculate, it can execute commands and all that stuff, but it's still limited on thinking on its own. There are some experiments that machines are starting to communicate between each other without human intervention and all that stuff, so something really advanced. So there's a saying that says that scientists are advanced 5 years more than normal people, so there are things that are happening maybe from 2017 that we are experiencing today. So scientists are experiencing things until maybe 2027 right now. So maybe in 5 years we'll discover what they are creating right now in AI or in other fields. But for the time being, I don't think that machines can overcome humans in the creativity side.
Well, it's an interesting philosophical question. It goes back, I guess, to the point I made about two computers talking to each other. You hear lots of articles about jobs being made redundant, maybe like your Uncle Arundam. I know he wasn't made redundant, but you know the fear of that. And you sort of think, well, at the end of the day, we can just stop evolution of technology, but it seems to be an inherent human drive that we just can't help ourselves, even if we can see some of the downsides coming forward.
Yeah, so, so like she has said that, there has to be some right balance between, that human touch and AI. In fact, today, I was just reading one article that one microfinance company, so they created 4 different messaging and they used AI to figure it out which message is going to resonate more with their target audience. So eventually that human, is going to drive that emotional connect with the audience. And AI definitely can, help them to analyze, help them to choose better, help them to be more efficient. So it's a very, very right balance. It's not that, whether human or the artificial intelligence, I think it's the joint goal that both of them are going to achieve.
Thank you. I'm conscious of giving the room enough time to have questions, so I'm going to ask one last fairly seismic question to the panel here before taking any from the floor, and that is, what's a prediction that you'd make for AI in the context of marketing that you'd like to share? But quite frankly, if you'd like to share any other prediction in a wider context, very happy to hear it. Who'd like to go first? Uraz.
I can go first. I believe that as we have more innovations in AI, I believe from the expertise viewpoint, we're going to need more human factor because as the AI gets developed, there are more details that needs to be learned and more details to keep an eye of while actually applying the new technologies to our marketing campaigns. And normal person will not be able to learn all of these and follow all the new technology daily, weekly, or monthly. So I believe as we progress more, we're going to need more experts, and competition is getting higher every day, especially in social media marketing. I mean, more companies are being active on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. As the competition gets higher, people are requiring more experts so they can actually make a difference and step out from the zone which has all the other competitors. So I believe as the AI progress, more human resource, more human factor will be needed in order to manage all this technology and actually provide a result.
Is it used the word expert there, and I'm just thinking it's interesting to contemplate anybody in the room who's got children and thinking the age-old phrase, we're training them to do jobs that don't even exist at the moment, and what sort of degrees, I mean, I know there's computer software degrees and the like coming through, but what's the next phase of degrees in education coming through? So anyway, back to the original question, which is a prediction from you about the future of AI in a marketing context. Or, if you want to go wider, you're very welcome to.
Future of AI, again, I know that I'm going to give you one example, that one of my friends from Samsung, he's launching close to 8 different products in next 4 or 5 months. And his biggest challenge is that whatever, that creative or messaging that he's designing, last moment is getting changed. So the future will be on the visual marketing, how AI can, that help the marketer. That, as I've just mentioned, that, on the visual marketing space, the creative space, so that they can take very, very, especially FMCG, that marketer, so they can take very quick decisions. And so, yeah, that's I feel that gonna be the
That's
future.
a really interesting point about speed of decision making, which in a competitive context is really important. If I think back to my days, for example, working with Procter & Gamble, where they'd work on a campaign for 18 months, researching it, refining it, and then taking it to market. Here, 18 months, more like 18 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree actually with that, because there's now actually softwares that, if you want to find product market fit, like these software companies, when they start up, they have a solution, but they don't know who their perfect target audience is. So you have these softwares that can already actually figure out, like, hey, this might be your perfect target audience, and they obviously use AI. So I think it's going to my prediction is it's going to be more efficient, more effective, and yeah, obviously quicker to the results. Yeah, that's my prediction. Very short and to the point.
Great. Less is more. Badis.
My prediction is AI is gonna keep on growing. Maybe there are gonna be new algorithms, new tools implementing AI in marketing in every field. I guess there's a saying in natural selection, you need to either adapt or you perish. So if people want to adapt to what's happening around the world, the technology that's developing in the light speed each day, every day, so I think they will be outdated. Maybe they will be out of business. So I guess AI will keep on growing, will keep on invading every aspect of life. And we need to adapt to it. We cannot resist it. So we can resist it maybe for now, just a little bit, but in the next few years, we need to accept it and we need to adapt to it.
Yeah, I mean, my hope is that AI can help us solve some of the systemic societal issues that we're facing. You think about maybe AI in the context of NEOM that's being built up in Saudi Arabia. And if that sort of dream can be realized, and AI is very much part of it. So we've got 10 minutes on the clock in front of me here. Firstly, thank you to the panel for fantastic, engaging and interesting conversation. Anybody from the audience like to take any questions?
Do you have any questions from the audience? Anyone want to ask anything?
Any robots out there want to ask about human perspective on things?
Hi, Wilson from Pixels and Metrics, although my shirt says the neutral space, that's our other sister company. My question is mainly with AI. Do you think it would be possible for it to do, well, marketing is basically storytelling, in my opinion. Do you think it would be possible for AI to reach those kinds of levels in, say, 5 years?
Great question. And I think it relates to this idea of dreaming and creativity. Storytelling is a core human trait, I guess. If we go back millennia, it's how tribes, both ancient and current, meaning communities, pass on knowledge, entertainment, and the like. So the question for the panel is, do you think AI can replace or indeed improve on storytelling?
Personally speaking, again, from a software perspective, there's softwares out there that can actually write blogs for you if you just put in a few keywords and then they already, write a blog for you. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. You obviously need to give your creativity in that as well. But it does give you more of a hold on writing a better blog instead of doing it yourself. So that's a way of how you can see it. Again, the creativity part, that comes where you improve on the blog, but I do think it's a crutch to help you to actually increase maybe conversions in this case, for example.
Reminds me of that concept of if you had an infinite number of monkeys with an infinite number of typewriters, one of them is going to write the Bible. Well, maybe, we will be able to afford for an infinite number of computers to write books or arrange words in a certain order, and very quickly a piece of storytelling will pop out. Anybody else on the panel like to give a perspective?
So I personally tried a couple of, that when we initially started a company, and there are a couple of free tools that are available to create those, AI-based content. Again, it's very subjective. We didn't like it much because the storytelling requires lots more than human touch. You can't expect that AI tool, can create a movie or documentary or anything that, you need that human touch. So personally, I don't feel that storytelling cannot, can be taken over by AI. It can help, again, it can help the efficiency, but bring the efficiency on the table. But at the end of the day, you need a good content writer to.
So it sounds like good news for anybody in Hollywood and the film industry. You're not going to get replaced anytime soon.
Or any marketing agency.
Or any marketing agency, absolutely.
I just want to add one thing. So as Denise mentioned, you can put keywords in certain software and it will write you a whole article. So you will have a whole article. Even students use this to get through plagiarism in some articles, some projects and all that. But I think they're not always perfect. So you find sentences that do not match, you find words not in the right place, etc. So there are still some problems with that. As Arendam said, I guess there are some fields that always need the human touch, so they cannot only depend on machines or on algorithms and all that. So we always need a human touch, as I mentioned at the end of the line. So to add value, to add that print, I would say. So each painter and each movie director maybe has his own signature. So we need to add that signature at the end of any art piece to be complete. So I think we always need that.
And now we're drifting into the world of NFTs. But anyway, moving on.
Well, just to summarize everything that's been said, without the human input, I don't believe AI can create anything on its own, out of the box. Maybe based on the old data and old inputs, maybe it can come up with some ideas, some structures, some articles, but for something new and something unique, at least currently, for now, there needs to be an input by a human.
Thank you. I think we've got time for maybe one more
Have
question,
we
if
got any
there
more
is one out there.
Yeah, one down here. I've got a story that just proves that wrong.
Thank you for the wonderful session. My question is, for the end clients, how easy or how tough is to convince on the AI-based approach?
Okay, so the question, if you didn't hear it, I'm sure you did, but it was how easy or tough is it for a client to be convinced by an AI approach?
So, so what, that experience that we had, especially after post-COVID, we can see that, there's a huge, shift in the marketing behavior. They are ready to experiment. MarTech still is not commoditized. So I feel it makes it a little easier to, convince the marketer to at least to try it. But yeah, it depends on that, till what extent that we can give the ROI to the client to make it possible that they are retaining that platform. So that's my experience with my set of clients.
I personally think it's also how you sell it, right? So you're not going to say like, oh, we're going to use AI to do this, but you can say like, well, the result is going to be this and this and this for you, whatever the result for them is going to be as an added value. So that's how I sell things, is more looking at the benefit of what it would be for your end client instead of using, okay, we're going to use AI to do this because that's going to confuse the client. If that makes sense?
Yes, my question was more on, from a human perspective, how easy it is to communicate this, whether they take it in a positive way or it needs more deliberation from your end to convince them.
I mean, based on my experiences, our clients, even though we communicate the idea, like you mentioned, they care about results. So based on my clients, I see that they say, do whatever you want with the AI part, as long as it doesn't violate any ethical code. And as long as you deliver results, we're fine by using it. But of course, you should be careful with the ethical side of it in order to, protect the company and your client. But as long as we're on the same line, they're okay with it, and communication goes smoothly.
From my point of view, as I mentioned before, so we always speak in a functional way to the client. So we do not go into details, into some techie details, because some clients are very far away from technology, from the trends, from everything that's happening all around the world. So we try to explain what's going to be beneficial for him or for her when using AI, when using these new algorithms, these new tools, etc. But we try to stay away because it's very sensitive manner, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, predictive marketing, all that stuff. So it's very sensitive and it can be confusing, as everyone said here. So we try to keep it functional, keep it a feature. We speak only about the features, about what's the added value of using AI, and we try to implement it as discreetly as possible, I would say.
Fantastic. Do we have any more questions in the audience? Okay, we'll do the one last one just over there. I'm just going to tell you about AI's learning something new. So I have a friend who's running a company, and they are developing something that is going to revolutionize live streaming platforms. And they were working with AIs for live real-time translation. So this is Star Trek stuff, universal translators. They had 3 of them. The problem was the AI started talking to one another, and they created a whole new language that the developers couldn't understand, so that they had to just wipe the programming and start again. It was just like, what are they doing? That's the problem. Stuff goes wrong,
Or from a computer's point of view, it's going right.
Yeah, we don't want to know what they're saying.
Well, thank you again to the panel.
So, hang on, wait, hang on.
Oh,
We
I
have
beg your
one more
pardon.
question.
I'm really sorry.
Our lady
I'm really
at the
sorry.
back
One
there.
more question.
Okay. Hi, I'm Denise Michelle with Bridge the Love. I'm just really curious about AI and human connection, and if AI can truly increase and impact emotional intelligence at the same time, and how you see that happening?
Ooh, that's a nice question.
Yeah, if I can chip in and then see. I think going back to this idea of analysis and sentiment analysis, I think AI can learn to understand context for language, and language ultimately is how we communicate to each other, how we communicate emotions to each other. Now, what it can't get is the intonation, but you know, if you think about Alexa, it's or a sat nav, it's a fairly unemotional voice that's speaking to you. But I can see AI helping that, and it will get the intonation that we as humans use to convey our emotion. So I think it'll easily happen, personally.
Anyone else want to comment on that?
I agree.
Denise?
Fortunately for the panel, there's a big red 0 showing down here, saved by the bell.
There is. Thank you so much, Crispin, Denise, Badis, Uraz, and Uridam. Thank you so much to our amazing panel. Fantastic discussion on that one. Really, really good. Really, really good. Thank you so much. Pleasure to have you all here.